Bring it on. On down.
What up, everybody? It's your boy Jeezy Jenkins. Welcome to another episode of Worth a Conversation. My guest tonight is a New York Times best-selling author, a minister, and a life coach. Her show, Iyanla Fix My Life, has guided people on their paths of healing. Please welcome Dr. Iyanla Vanzant. Thank you so much for stopping by the show, taking a minute to talk to me. I heard you out there fixing everybody's lives. How can you fix mine is what I need to know.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So where are you at now?
I'm home.
Okay. Nice. I love to see that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, right. The pandemic is a gift and a curse, huh? At the same time.
It's been a real gift for me. I know that it's been quite challenging for so many people. You know, my heart is with them.
Yes.
But
yes.
all things are working for our good, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah, I think it causes us to think outside the box a lot too. People have
outside the box,
yeah.
outside the edge of the box, outside the circle.
Right. You had to really be innovative. Even for myself, I liked it because I was able to do a lot of things that I wanted to do that I didn't have the time to do. That I had the time to process and work and think about. And then, I just took that time that I had. I had one of my great friends tell me, you're either going to come out of this pandemic bitter or better. I'm choosing to come out of it better.
Yeah.
The pandemic, a lot of people, including myself, I lost a loved one. I lost my mother, and I know a lot of friends that lost a lot of people just doing this whole ordeal. And and what steps would you give people as far as grieving through these times?
Well, I want to be very mindful here. Every contract expires. Everyone does.
Right.
We can't blame COVID for the contract expiring. COVID may have been the circumstances, but the expiration date, for all we know, could have been the same.
Okay.
I think it's a mistake to get caught up in the circumstance. Every life has an expiration date. We all have a contract with life, and eventually that contract is going to expire.
Right.
So I know that the process for grieving is the same, whether it's COVID or cancer or OD or a car accident or just natural causes. When you lose a loved one, the grieving process is the same. So it'll be a mistake to get caught up on blaming COVID.
Right. That
brings in an element that's going to make it mourning as opposed to grieving.
So grieving and mourning is two different things.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Mourning is when you get stuck in the remorse of, because this person is gone, I can no longer. Or if I had done this person would still be. Or if that hadn't happened, this person would still be here. We don't know that to be true.
Right.
Grieving is a natural, organic process that has 7 stages.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about those. What the 7 stages? Talk to me about that.
Well, the first one is disbelief. Disbelief, where you really don't believe that this is happening, that it's going on, that the person is gone. Then you go to anger. You get angry that the person is gone. Let me get them in order now. Grieving, I know it's disbelief. Bargaining. Bargaining comes before anger. You want to bargain. Can we do this? Can this happen? Can that happen? You start bargaining with the Creator to try to get a little more time. And then anger.
Okay.
And sometimes disconnect or shut down.
When you say
and
disconnect,
then acceptance, and then healing.
So you say disconnect, that's like taking yourself...
Just shut down. Not feeling, not accepting, not just just shut down.
Wow. Do people get
Or
stuck in that
disconnected.
state? Do people get stuck in that state? Or is
Oh
it?
yeah,
Or is it
people can get stuck in either of the states.
Okay.
Usually they get stuck in the anger.
okay.
That's the big one. We get stuck in the anger, and that's what creates the mourning. You know, if I had done this, if only this hadn't happened, you know, because like now people are, you know, blaming COVID. We don't know it to be true that the person would still be here if COVID, you know, hadn't come. We don't know it.
Right. Yeah, that's a big one. I think the other part, especially for like me, my situation was my mother was in a memory care unit. So when the pandemic happened, they didn't allow us to see them for, you know, pretty
That's
much.
the hard part.
Yeah, that's the hard part, because other than that, it would have been a little easier. But you know, I send my you know, my prayers and my energy out to anybody that lost somebody in this time, and even just not because of the pandemic, even with a lot of the racial issues that we got going on out here, as far as, you know, when they was, you know, every time you woke up, they was killing a black man somewhere. I mean, they was running us down, hunting us down in the street, gunning us down. We had Wendy's and they killing us there. And every time you turn on the news, it was just like it was getting out of hand. What are, like, as a culture and as a community, like what are some of the ways to like manage our emotions as these things happen, because it's one after another. So by the time that we start the process, one, something else happens, and it's almost, now I feel like we're almost numb to it. You know, it's kind of expected in some sense.
Well, let me start here. Whatever shows up comes up to be healed, whether it's the pandemic or, you know, this political upheaval, and particularly for us as people of color. You know, as a spiritual technician, I look at cause and effect. What shows up is the effect.
Right.
That's the effect. That means that there's a cause at a much deeper level. And what I'm sensing, seeing, feeling, understanding, recognizing is that this is up for healing for us. And it's a genetic, ancestral, historical, cellular memory that is now made manifest. Because in our cells is the memory of loved ones, community members being hung, and we had to go back to the field.
Right.
Being whipped, and we had to go pick the cotton. Being sold off, they're here today, gone tomorrow. We know that in our cells. We know it in our genes. And now it's up, and the question becomes, how are you going to respond to it this time? And unfortunately, because it's happening like this, and because many of us don't know universal law and spiritual principles, we think this is happening now. So the question becomes, how are we going to handle it this time? We can't get numb to it this time.
Right.
Our ancestors had no choice. They couldn't do anything about being whipped or raped or hung or sold. They couldn't, but we can. The question is that individually we have to navigate, clear, release the energy of the trauma so that we can have a different response.
Release the energy of the trauma.
Yes.
Okay, explain it.
Personal trauma, collective trauma, ancestral trauma, historical trauma. We come here with trauma. And we have to do our individual work to be able to clear the trauma so that we can come to the collective table of change in a different way. In a different way.
As a black man, and I'm going through these emotions, and you're telling me that I need to start working on my traumas, how do I identify? I don't got let's just say I'm a regular guy, I don't have the money, I'm, you know, working every day. Like, how do I take that time, and where do I go to start working on my traumas? And how do I even know that I have traumas? And when I go sit down and talk,
You black in America, you got trauma.
that's it.
If you black in America, you got trauma.
Wow.
Okay? I mean, we all have trauma. And I want to really encourage us not to think of it as simply as I have these feelings. No. It's trauma. And that means that there's a disruption, a dysfunction, a disconnect in our psychological, our emotional, and our spiritual well-being.
Wow. So
Okay?
So it's a disconnect around the board.
You can't heal the mind until you heal the spirit. I don't care what you do. You can go to therapy from now till your lips fall off.
Right.
But if you don't get in there and do that inner work, that spiritual work, that'll take you from the head down to the groin, not just neck up.
Right.
Okay? So we've got to do our work. Simple stuff like deep breathing. One of the trauma responses is not to breathe.
Right.
We're like this.
Right.
All the time.
Right. That's one of my biggest tools, though. Breathing is definitely one of my biggest tools. I even when I'm frustrated and I'm mad or I got to think, I just need to get away and breathe. But also what I learned, too, is getting outside, getting fresh air, and getting around nature. You know, that's a
Put
big
your
one for me.
feet to the earth.
Yes.
I call it belly to the ground.
Yeah, that's a big one for me. I have to go down to Miami and just put my feet in the sand on the beach and let the water run across it and just, take me a couple of deep breaths. And I know Miami's a different grid for me, but everybody got to have that one place where they can go, where they can think clearly and just start that process.
A tree.
I haven't got into tree hugging yet, but
you don't even have to hug it. Just sit at its roots.
Right. Okay.
You just sit at its roots. Simple things that we can do that don't take money. Deep breathing. Meditation, meaning clearing the mind, even with a mantra. Even, repeating something over and over.
I have friends that I tell about meditation all the time, and their thing to me is like, how do I know when I'm doing it right? Because when I'm meditating,
you can't do it wrong.
Okay, because when I'm meditating, my mind goes there. And it was like that for me in the beginning, and now I can control it a little bit better. It's always work in progress. But it's like, what am I looking for to get out of this? When I meditate, am I trying to come out with a clear head, or am I just trying to just gather my thoughts? Am I trying to, work on my anxiety? Like, what am I doing?
You're stilling the mind.
Okay.
Because the trauma or the emotions or whatever it is, it's over. It's done. We are stuck in the thoughts about it. Nobody's hanging us today. Nobody's killing us today. We may hear of something. But what happens is we get stuck in the thought about it and we ruminate those thoughts. Meditation is a process of stilling the mind. And as you do it more and more, you can empty the mind. But let's just start with stilling it so that we're not ruminating the same thoughts. And a good way to do it is you do a guided meditation.
Okay.
Listen to a voice that supports you, a voice that, resonates with you. There are millions of them. Dare I say I have some, but, listen, do a guided meditation. And any guided meditation will get you to the point where you're at stillness.
What's your favorite mantra? What's the one you live by?
Well, I think I have two. The first one is right where I am, God is. Right where I am, God is.
Strong.
Right where I am, God is. And the second one is truth will correct all errors in my mind.
I like
truth
that.
will correct all errors in my mind.
How did you get, it's crazy because it's just like you just have this energy and this thing about you. It's like, how did you get into a space where you understood that you can help other people, and then that was your gift? And then understanding, because I watch a lot of the stuff you do, and it's just like immediately you lock in and you just start to make them understand things about their self. And it's like, when did you understand those things about yourself to correct, to test it, and for it to be proven, for you to take it and actually make it a gift?
Well, I don't know if that was the process for me. I think the process, first of all, it's been 40 years.
Right.
40 years. Second of all, it's my purpose. And when you have a purpose, it unfolds through your experience. Second of all, or third of all, I studied. I'm a technician. And a technician knows what screw goes where, what nut goes where, what wire goes where. I am a technician, and I have mastered spiritual technology. And then finally, for me, it's obedience. I hear it and I do it. Say this, I say it. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to say that.
Right. But you got to do it.
But I've learned the hard way.
Right.
I've had enough spiritual butt whippings to know when I'm not obedient, it's a problem. So I've learned to be obedient. And it comes from the breath, the meditation, stilling my mind, being able to distinguish between my thoughts and divine thoughts or divine inspiration when it comes through. Being able to be a clear channel. Wow. 40 years in the making. Years.
And like, how do you keep your energy? Like, how do you, because you're talking to different people throughout the day and you're helping them so much, and as they're putting their energy on you, and then when you go home at night, like, I know you're drained. So like,
no.
No? No?
It takes a lot of energy and, but when the man comes to fix your washing machine, he don't take on the energy of the washing machine.
Right.
He do what he know how to do. He don't go home belaboring that you had to pay all this money to have your machine fixed.
Right. He just do
he fixed the machine and go home and drink his beer and watch TV. It's the same thing for me.
That's a good analogy.
I follow what I'm told to do. I do it. I'm present but not involved.
Okay,
I don't get involved.
Right.
Right where I am, God is. Right where you are, God is. There's really nothing in you that needs to be healed. God needs to be revealed in, as, and through you in a way that you can acknowledge and become aware of it. My job is to support you in activating that God self, that even if it's for 30 seconds, so that you have that, oh, okay, I got that. That's all it is.
Right.
Nothing to be healed, only God to be revealed.
No, I understand. I think that's so special, though, because that's such a unique gift to when you were younger, did you help your friends? Like, when you was in middle school and people came to you and they needed, like, did you realize it early on?
Well, you know what? I did know it early on, but because my family was traumatized, my grandmother was a Native American passing for black. Can you imagine?
Wow.
That it was easier to pass for black than it was to be a Native American? My grandmother was a Native American passing for black. My father was a traumatized, fatherless son. So I grew up, they hid us in the church. We hid in the church.
Hid you in the church?
Yeah. What that means is, don't line up with your culture. Don't stand in your ancestry. Don't tell the truth about who you are. Follow Jesus.
Okay.
So for me as a child with a gift of clairaudience, meaning I could hear things, and clairvoyance, meaning I could see things, Jesus said that was wrong. Now, that's not what he said, but that's what they told me he said.
Right.
So as a child, my gift was suppressed. That was wrong. I was possessed by devils and the demon and whatever. So probably from around the age of 7 until I had totally jacked my life up.
What do you mean jack your life up? I can't believe that.
Oh, what?
What? What you had going on?
What? Let's put it this way. What didn't I have going on?
Oh, hey. I know that.
Totally jacked my life up. Oh my gosh, yes. And I think that's why I can be with so many people, because I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. The only thing I've never done hardcore drugs.
Okay.
And I never drank. My mother was an alcoholic. I stayed drunk in the womb. Wow. I was drunk the first 9 months of my existence.
Wow.
So I never really drank. I smoked enough weed to turn my fingers around.
Come on now. Come on now.
Until I got pregnant with my son at 16, and then I stopped.
Okay.
And I mean, I grew up around smoking. I smoked for I don't know how many years I smoked for, because everybody in my house smoked. The roaches smoked, the dogs smoked. So, and I grew up in domestic violence. I married and stayed in a 9-year marriage of domestic violence. I attempted suicide twice.
Really?
Yeah, and so I was about, when I had my last daughter, I was 21, and I attempted suicide and ended up in the mental ward. Because that's what they do with you when you say you don't want. I don't know why people think because you want to end your life that you're crazy.
yeah.
You in pain.
Right.
I didn't want to die. I just stopped hurting.
Right.
So it was then when I was 21 that the light came on.
Okay. So that's that moment where you just had to make a decision.
Yeah, you know why? Because in the psychiatric ward, not only was I drugged with, really good stuff, it took me out of the habitual pattern of my mind, my habitual thoughts, and took me to another state of being. And the one thing that I knew how to do, and when I got in trouble that I did, was pray. So 6 weeks in the mental ward, in the psychiatric ward, I was in deep prayer. Every day, praying. And, now I understand that my creator and the blessings of my ancestors, they put me there for that reason.
Right.
Because what shows up is the answer. You got to remember the question. My question was, how do I do this different? How do I change? Help me. And they said, okay, you spend 6 weeks in the nut house and then you'll come out okay.
Wow. So you had to go through something.
Everybody does.
Yeah, you had to go through, and that's crazy. I feel you on that, because a lot of times it took my lowest moments for me to snap out of something or to understand, like, you gotta tighten up. Like, whatever you doing is not in this. Is to hear you say praying. The best thing that ever happened in my life, I prayed for. And I prayed and I promised, and I kept it solid on my promises. But it also made me feel a sense of integrity, because I feel like I was given a chance. I was put in situations where I could have done. At one point, a lot of my friends were getting life sentences and going to prison, and I really wanted to do music. And I was like, no matter what happens, if you give me this opportunity, I'll do the right thing with it. No matter if it turns on me or whatever, I'm gonna do what's right. I'm always gonna say what's in my heart, and I'm always gonna speak for my people and my coach, and I'm always gonna make them understand there's two sides to this, and they must keep moving and keep going. And when that was granted to me, it was surreal, because it was like everything I've been through before that was straight torture.
Right.
So the moment I woke up and it was different, I'm like, wow, but now I got this real responsibility, so now I got to be a man of my word, you know? So that's when I was doing a lot of drinking and smoking, you know what I'm saying? And trying to numb my mind, because now it's just amazing amount of pressure on me, because now I have to perform. I mean, I have to do the right thing that's in my heart. And it's almost like being a politician that's honest, that doesn't kind of go with the job, because if you're too honest, then people, you can't be a politician, because you got to have some type of griminess to you for you to do your job. And it was really hard for me to do what I do, because I really had a lot of beliefs, and I was really God-fearing. My grandmother raised me that way, and a lot of things that came with the culture I didn't agree with over time. Just like, this ain't right. Yeah. And it let me know what my strength was, or my purpose was. It was being a disruptor. It was the one to gain the respect and the respect and the support of the people. And when I see something that's wrong, no matter if it goes against what I'm supposed to stand for musically, I have to make it clear, like, this ain't it. You know what I mean? This ain't what I told God I'm gonna do. Like, I can't preach this message and I ain't living like that, or I can't preach this message and I know at the end of the day the consequences that come with that. So it's a real thing. So I didn't go to the crazy house, but I almost went crazy.
I want to speak specifically to brothers. Specifically to brothers. 3 things that I watched: my father, who's now deceased, my brother, who's now deceased, and my son, who's not deceased, but who spent some time in God's Vacation Retreat Center, aka prison. 3 things that I learned from observing them. Number 1, many brothers, many men of color, black men, Latin men, they are pissed off with God. They talk the talk, they know the scripture, they got a I love you Jesus bumper sticker.
Right.
They are pissed off with God because in this society where we're taught to be codependent and never to take full responsibility and accountability for our thoughts, our speaking, and our emotions, they think the things that happen to them, that God caused them. It's God's fault.
I promise you I felt that way before.
Okay. I know. I had a father,
Right.
a brother,
Right.
3 husbands, and a son.
Right.
Number 2, genetically, cellular memory, black men are conditioned to fear their power, to diminish their power. Let me tell you how they do that.
Diminish their power.
Diminish their power, because a black man genetically, cellular, your great great grandfather, you have his nose or his hair or his legs or his ears, because that line is still close. We're talking 4 generations.
Right.
He couldn't be smart. He couldn't be powerful. He couldn't be whatever, because the massa didn't want it. So he had to lower himself. He had to lie. He had to shuffle along. Even though there was a king, there was greatness, there was power, there was creativity in him. His gifts were exploited for someone else's well-being. His power was considered threatening, and he was, diminished or whipped or sold. He was dehumanized. And your cells remember that.
Right.
So many black men today engage in behaviors and thought processes and activities, not because they want to, but because it's a cellular memory and it comes to the surface. And nobody in this society is teaching black men how to be in their power with majesty and with dignity and with honor. So they lie and they hide and they, and that's why they're killing us. Because our power is waking up. We don't really understand what to do with it. And they scared of it. They see it and they scared of it. Okay. And finally, the 3rd thing. So brothers are angry with God. Brothers still don't know how to, many brothers, not me say all, but many brothers still don't know how to stand in, be in, channel their power without aggression. And 4, most brothers are raised in a community, in an environment, sometimes in a home, where their value is about what they can do for somebody else,
Not what about
and
me.
not the genius
Right.
of who they are.
No, I totally agree with that. I totally, and that's how you're raised. Like you're taught to go out here, make a living, take care of your family, and stay low. Because you don't.
And it's not. And here's this. I want to speak this into your spirit and every other brother watching this. My grandmother, who was a Native American, taught me this. She said, one of the reasons I treat your brother differently than you, I'm more protective of your brother than you, is because I know and remember my grandmother was the daughter of a sharecropper. She said to me, a black woman can survive a rape. A black man cannot survive a hanging.
Wow.
I'm protecting your brother from being hung. Well, that didn't do much for me to leave me out there to be raped.
Right.
I understand it from that perspective. So even how we raise our sons and how we think about them, how we hold them, cellular memory of we got to protect our sons. They'd rape us, but they'd hang y'all.
Wow. I mean, so what's going on with society when you look up and you see all
They're
these-
hanging us.
Yeah,
They're still hanging us.
And it's also what we're doing to each other.
Well, that's what we are taught. And I'm not, we have to accept responsibility for it, yes. And we, see, it's not our fault, but it is our responsibility.
Okay.
It's not our fault, but it is our responsibility. And I think one of the most detrimental things to us is the fact that we really, and particularly these younger generations, really don't understand who we are as a people. So we're reaching out and we're grabbing onto things that really don't work well in our genetic composition.
Absolutely. We're looking for
money,
validation and money, validation
fame and fortune.
Fame and fortune.
You want to be accepted and noticed and everything.
That's what makes you feel like a king. That's what makes you feel like you have power, because that's a immediate sense of power, because you have something more than the next person beside you. But
our power is our character.
Absolutely.
Iwa Pele.
You're right.
Iwa Pele.
Right.
And that's the thing that we lack.
I believe that. I believe that our power is our character. But when you start to, put it in the culture, that same power being your character can cause culture to lightweight try to cancel you because they feel like no, I'm not accepting. Listen,
your fortune will get you there, but character will keep you there. Fame and money will get you there. Character, where there's a perfect example, and I studied this brother, okay? I have studied him and I love him. You look at Snoop Dogg.
Yes, Snoop Dogg he's genuine, very.
And I can almost tell you around 2004, 2006, when his character shifted. It was character. His voice doesn't even sound the same.
Yeah.
I watch y'all. I watch you too.
Right. What's crazy? He's doing better in life than he ever did.
Character.
Yeah, he's doing better. I mean, he's Snoop is probably one of the biggest superstars in the world, but he's accessible. I even look at a lot of things where he like shouts out his homeboys from like decades ago, and he still shows them love. And he's one of the biggest superstars in the world. And then he might just support the younger generation in a way, but his business is still good, and he's still Snoop Dogg. He's still everybody's uncle. You love him.
Character.
You don't look at him any different. Yeah,
And then he went. I don't know if he has talked about this, but I know he went and spent some time with the elders up in Jamaica.
Okay. Right.
With the elders.
Yeah, that's
most young brothers today, they don't even have an elder that they can look to or speak to, and that's our culture.
Yes,
and it's so important.
When I went to Jamaica, and I actually went to where Bob Marley was raised, 7 Mile. I loved his music before, but I really got an understanding of who he was. Everybody from that town had a story about Bob Marley.
Everybody.
Whether a bully tried to jump him and Bob helped beat him up, or Bob walked him to school, or Bob gave him some lunch money. And when you hear it, you're like, wow, like he was a real guy.
He had character.
Right. He's
a
real
character.
Person. It's crazy. I love it. But Snoop and Kobe too, I think as well. Like when Kobe after his basketball career, I just felt like he shifted into this space where he was just trying to be a great father and a great role model, because he accepted the fact he had a great basketball career, but if you saw his moves after that, he just started doing things that were just right with the soul.
A distinction between being externally driven and internally referenced. And that's what happened with Snoop. I believe that's what happened with, there are a lot of brothers, even in our communities. Those are the ones that we see out there. But there's a lot of brothers around who are working as mentors and working. And this is not a shameless self-promotion. If you get a chance, as a matter of fact, for you, I'm going to get your information. Okay. I'm going to send you a copy of The Spirit of a Man.
Okay.
I wrote that book in 1996. 1996. And the things that are in there are so relevant to today. The Spirit of a Man. And I've got processes and exercises and class, things for brothers to do. Because people are talking to the brothers' heads. Nobody's talking to their soul.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep. Fix My Life, which I love when you get in there, because you go in How has that show helped you grow? What has it done for you?
Every single guest represented an issue, a dysfunction, a challenge that I either had or had.
Right.
Every single guest. I don't care what it was. And what Fix My Life did was show me what I had healed, show me what needed to be healed, and show me what I was healing. Because I couldn't give what I didn't have.
Right.
So if a guest landed on something that was still a trigger for me, I had to go in and do my work.
Right.
And that's why very often I could step up in somebody's face.
Right.
Because you can't, look, I know what this is.
Right.
You can't tell me that.
Right.
You know, and sometimes I would be like, oh, damn.
Right. Now you got to go in.
I don't want to.
You got to do what you got to do.
You have another problem.
It's a whole different issue.
You know, we did a 2-hour special that'll air on the very last show, May 22nd, where I talk about the challenges that I lived with, you know, going through Fix My Life.
Oh,
you know, when I
wow.
started Fix My Life, I had bills and I had a relationship and I had children and I had stuff. And so to be able to do that and be away from home and manage my stuff and continue to grow and stretch. So Fix My Life for me, it was a public classroom, because to be in integrity with what was coming out of my mouth, I had to make sure that it was clear in my heart.
Wow. That's real. Because you give when I hear you say the word triggers, I've never really heard that in the conversation with my peers or my brothers, but I hear it so much more offline. And then I think about a lot of things that used to trigger me. I feel like it's always work in progress, but I've done a lot of personal work just so certain things wouldn't trigger me the same. And, you know, I really appreciate taking time to understand what damaged me in my past going towards my future, so I don't bring it with me, because I don't want to put this on my kids or bring that energy in my household. Because you're right, we do come up with dysfunctional situations, dysfunctional families. We're trying to figure things out. I was 13 years old trying to figure out how to buy my mother a house, you know, because I was tired of living in the projects. And that was something I did, but imagine being 13 years old and that's what you're thinking. And
we just did that show on Fix My Life. Mark Giles and his family did that show on Fix My Life. He was taking care of his mother when he was 14 years old.
Yes.
Because somebody had robbed their apartment in the projects.
Yes.
And how it damaged him and ruined him, because he didn't develop organically. He skipped so many steps, and so many brothers, that happens to so many brothers.
Yeah,
I write a lot about that in The Spirit of a Man.
I think I skipped a lot of my childhood trying to take care of my family, put my sister through school. So it's like a lot of things that should and could be fun. I never picked up a video game remote. I wouldn't know how to, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like things that kids, I didn't catch football in the park or just certain things that kids did, because my mentality and my mindset was of grown man. I was like, I gotta go out here.
But deeper than that, I'm sorry to cut you off on your show, but deeper than that, you never got to feel safe.
Correct.
You never got to feel secure. You never got to really develop self-corrective tools by falling and getting up, making a mistake and receiving correction. You got punished, or you got, devalued. That's what happens to so many young black men.
Right.
They don't even have the chance to develop the normal, organic human process because they're black men. They can't make mistakes. White boys go out and get drunk and bust up windows and stuff, and they get 10 weeks of community service. Young black men go out, smoke some happy flowers and tear up something. They get 7.5 to 15.
Yes, yeah. Happy flowers. Who was your most memorable guest on Fix My Life?
Oh, that's like saying who's your best child.
Y'all know.
I think I was my most memorable guest.
Oh, is that right?
People saw me as the host.
Right.
They didn't see me as the guest. And you got to remember, you saw 42 minutes of 3 and 4 days.
Right.
And so there were times when, somebody would say something and, I'd have to dig deep to come up with what it was that they needed. And
Right.
so how do I do that? And there were times when, I would be in an hour-long conversation with somebody. And what y'all would see is the last 10 minutes when I'm at a 10
Right.
that you didn't see when I was at a 3 and a 5 and gearing up, because I'm black. I talk with my hands and I get loud.
Clearly.
And then the level of I don't even know what you call it, how people judged and criticized and attacked me was very hurtful, very painful. And I couldn't take that into a show. I couldn't take it into a show. So I think I was my favorite guest.
Wow, that's deep. How do you deal with criticism?
Well, you know what? I know that when a person gets triggered, the first thing they go to is judgment and criticism. Because it's easier to look out and tear you down than it is to go in and build me up. And so criticism is not helpful unless you're saying, Iyanla, it would be more helpful to me if you would do so and so. But just to have something to say. And see, that's a part of this culture that we, as people of color, that we've embraced, that our ancestors are very disturbed about.
Right.
How we tear each other down with our mouth. How we judge and criticize, and particularly women, with our mouth. That's not who we are. What did your grandmother tell you? If you ain't got nothing nice to say,
don't say nothing at all.
Don't say nothing at all. And the other thing grandma said was, if you can't say it to my face, don't say it behind my back.
There you go.
But this thing here, this social technology allows us to judge and criticize and talk about people. But here's the piece that we don't know. That everything I say about you is coming back on me.
Right. Because at some point, you and it's crazy because people, me and my guy was talking last night, and it was like, you shouldn't tell people about the L, like the loss. Let's talk about how we're gonna win the next one.
Right.
Like how do you, because it shouldn't, and it's like you can make different moves outside your career patterns and try different things. That might be something you're really passionate about. But culturally, if it ain't what they want or what they expect, then you doing the wrong thing, so it's automatically tear you down. And I see it time and time again with people just really being passionate about, helping others or doing something different with their lives, and it's just like all of a sudden, like you the butt of everybody's jokes. And I look at it and I go, you gotta type that. You gotta think that. You gotta log on. You gotta type that. You gotta put your emojis and your exclamation points on it. And it's just like, that's a lot of work to tear somebody down.
But it's a function of lack of character. And particularly for black men. I've seen some things that, and I'll go back to Snoop. When Snoop had that breakdown with Gayle King, and he came out and he said, I was wrong publicly.
Right.
Oh, I just wanted to lick his left toe.
Right.
What a demonstration of character.
But
we're not required to have character.
Right.
And look at the leaders that we're following who ain't got no character.
And the thing about it is with Snoop, that's the dilemma. He is Snoop Dogg. He's known for saying some of the most outrageous things. But he had enough integrity to know that wasn't the move, and not even to save face, and to be like, I'm Snoop Dogg, I ain't gotta say, apologize to nobody. He came back and he made it right within his soul. You could tell it was genuine, you know what I mean? But at the same time, the climate and everything that's going on, he was not about to let it seem as if we're tearing down black women, no matter what they do. Let's not talk about the L, let's talk about how we're gonna win the next time. And that's what I respect about him.
How are we going to handle it differently this time? So I don't want us to get lost on this thing about what's happening with us. It is police doing it,
Right.
but they're just the agents of change. It is this society. It is this consciousness. And I know people may not understand it, but this is, whenever something is happening to me, you know what I ask myself?
What's that?
I say, okay, how am I doing this to myself? Or how am I doing this to somebody else? So when people start criticizing me, I look at, okay, did I go a little too far with my partner? Am I being too hard on my kids? Am I too critical of me? So my question is, yes, Dick, how are we killing ourselves? How do we have our knees on each other's neck? How are we diminishing, demoralizing, demeaning? How are we doing that to ourselves? How do we do that to our kids?
Right.
How do we abuse and neglect and violate our children? How do we do it to our partners? Don't look at it as Chauvin and George Floyd. Look at the behavior, the essence, the energy, and ask yourself, how am I doing that? To whom? Let me clean that up, because what we're seeing is the effect. We are the cause. I'm not blaming us for the police killing us and shooting us. Don't put that on Facebook or I'm going to put a curse on you. What I'm saying is, since people call me a witch,
right.
I say, you say I'm a witch like it's a bad thing.
Right.
A witch meaning a woman in total control of herself.
Ooh,
okay?
okay.
That's how I hold it.
Wow.
But what I'm saying is, hear me. What I'm saying is, how do we do individually, to ourselves, communally, in our homes, in our communities, globally, to each other? You know, years ago, Eddie Grant, now I don't know how old you are, I'm getting ready to age myself. Eddie Grant sang a song called Living on the Front Line. And there was a line in that song, he said, stop this brother killing brother. Over in the land of Africa. Stop this brother shooting brother right here. We can't expect people to treat us better than we treat ourselves.
Absolutely.
Do you understand what we do to each baby mama, baby daddy? How baby mama talk about baby dad? How baby daddy abuse, ignore, violence? Come on now.
Yeah, that's not it.
I'm talking from a spiritual technology position.
No, I respect
Not no heat, no judgment, because I've been there.
I respect it. What excites you most about moving on from Fix My Life, and what are the next steps for you?
Being able to teach us how to heal.
Okay.
Without having to do it in between commercials and without having to tell me, oh no, you can't say that. You know how much of what I said on here I couldn't say on Fix My Life? Or if I said it, it got cut out because we only have 42 minutes?
Wow.
That excites me. I just did a 5-day class online releasing the trauma of sexual abuse, because that's huge, huge. People have to start taking responsibility for their sexual irresponsibility. We're destroying our children with sexual irresponsibility. I did a 5-day course. You would have thought people would have been falling out the ceiling. No.
Wow.
They was on TikTok.
It was on TikTok.
But that's what excites me.
No, I love it. I love it. And we're going to support you, you know, in whatever you do. And we love you, Queen. We love how you kick it. We love how you...
I love you.
I normally leave the people that follow me with some words of wisdom. And just talking with you today, I just really feel like you got to do the work.
Yes.
You have to heal.
Give me 5. Give me 5. Give me 5.
Do
your work. Shut your mouth.
And do the work. Heal.
And do your work.
And just understand that, you know, there is a such thing called trauma.
Yeah.
And there's
We're in it. We're all in shock.
Yes.
But the question, this is if you don't say anything else, if nobody remembers anything else I said, this is a repetition of our history. The question becomes, how are we going to handle it this time? Are we just going to keep picking the cotton, shucking the peas, washing the laundry, engaging, acting like this ain't going on.
Right.
We're going to get upset for 6 weeks and then go back to, what's the thing? Facebook or
Instagram.
Whatever. How are we going to handle it this time?
No.
And my request is that we each come to the table as healthy as possible, do your work so that you become a valuable contribution to our collective evolution.
There you heard it, ladies and gentlemen, right here on Worth the Conversation. I want to thank you so much for stopping by, Queen, giving us these gems and these jewels. And the next time I need my life fixed, I'm going to call you, all right?
Okay.
And I'm looking for that. I'm looking forward
and
to
the
that.
next time you need your life fixed, I'm going to charge you. Y'all got to fix my life for free.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining me, Miss Iyanla. The 2-hour farewell special for Fix My Life airs Saturday, May 22nd at 9 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you check it out.